Morning. It's Monday, March 30th, around 10 a.m. or so in the morning, East Coast time. At 10:30 specifically this morning at the UnitedWest.org, theunitedwest.org, we're going to be live streaming a Bible study. What the heck is that all about? Well, tune in. Go to theunitedwest.org. 10:30, you'll see a live streamed Bible study taught by me. And then right at 11 o'clock, top of the hour, we switch to our live stream show, our radio show, which we're now live streaming live, unlike Joe Biden, his live streams. Ours will actually work. They should. Anyway, tune in and we'll have an encouraging, inspirational, and educational time together with Tom Trento and the United West team. Take care, everybody, and wash your hands.
Various institutions, the institution of education, of law, of media, of entertainment, of religion, of the economy. You bring all these institutions together and you formulate what the philosophers and the historians call a culture. And we are Western civilization. We're in the midst of a crisis that is testing our very culture of Western civilization. But go beyond our own borders. Go to one of the other 200 countries in the world. And at last count today, about 175 have been affected and infected with this invisible enemy. So this cultural crisis that we as Americans face here in the United States has superseded geographic boundaries to become a global crisis. We're in the midst, and I don't have to tell you this, but I'm telling you this, we're in the midst of a global crisis. And this global crisis is one of biblical proportions. You hear people now talking about this thing being of a biblical proportion. Well, it was against that background of such a biblical crisis, biblical proportion crisis as this, that our team here at the United West said, maybe it's time for a Bible study. Maybe it's time to look at the Bible if indeed we're in the midst of a biblically sized crisis for the entire globe. And that's what we're going to do. Hi, everybody. Tom Trento. Some of you may know me. We have many folks coming in from the United West, from Sharia Crime Stoppers, where we have regular webinars like this for the past 2 years on the Zoom platform. So Zoom is not new to us at all, though the application in our studio is new. Our division of Sharia Crime Stoppers has been doing this for quite a while. So we decided to take some time every day, 10:30 to 11 o'clock. I'll go about 20 minutes or so. Possibly, well, we'll open it up for Q&A. We'll see how it goes every day. And we're gonna be with you throughout this crisis, because rest assured, there is another side. This too, as the Bible says, will pass. So I want to just briefly introduce our team. This doesn't just happen. We had to rewire our whole studio to integrate our television capability with the Zoom platform so that we can bring you unique programming and guests if we needed, all of that. So quickly, I don't know if we can go with cameras into the control room, but if you guys could say hello. We have Midwest Dick working some of the machinery in there. You there, Dick?
Forward to learning more about the Bible than I already know. Thank you, Tom.
And we got J. Mark.
Hey, how you doing?
All right. And then we have Mother Mary. We have Mother Mary somewhere distant. You with us, Mother Mary?
I'm here.
Now, Mary is no one's mother. Well, she's someone's mother, but Mary and I are the same age, and I think Dick is older than Mary, probably. But every organization needs a mother to keep the boys in line. And so Mary's been doing that for about 10 years. So we are eternally grateful for Mother Mary. What I'm going to do today, folks, is tell you a little bit about who I am, what I do, why we're having the Bible study, and then get into some of the specifics. Again, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Tom Trento. I direct an organization called the United West. The United West. It's essentially a counterterrorism educational organization, and it has 4 mission objectives: to defend the U.S. Constitution, very important these days, to defend the state of Israel as our national number one national security partner, to defeat Marx, defeat the ideology of Karl Marx, and to defeat Mohammed, the ideology of Islamic Jihad. That's what we do. We've been doing it a long time. But in a prior life, before I got involved in all the national security stuff, I ran a Christian ministry for many, many years. That's my background. I am trained in theology and philosophy, and I am what's referred to as an apologist. And for those of you familiar in the Christian world with the term apologetics, it's not a weak term. It's actually a very strong term. The term biblically means to speak for the defense, to make a apologia, the Greek term, to argue in the defense of something. Socrates used to make apologies, arguments for whatever argument he was presenting. In the New Testament, which is written in Greek, Koine Greek, the concept is to make a defense for the claims of the New Testament. Well, I'm going to broaden that as an apologist, as a trained apologist with degrees from a college and then graduate school and all of that. That I'll be defending the particular truth claims of a particular book. Now, whenever you get into the area of religion, you hear all the time, you can't argue religion and politics. You guys ever hear that? You can't argue religion and politics.
Except on this show.
Except my whole life. Literally, from the day I became a born-again Christian in 1972, all I've been doing all my life is arguing religion and politics, and that's what our whole show is about. So we're going to, by argue, we don't mean, let's get nasty with each other. We just mean have an intellectual discussion presenting reasonable information, fact-based information that's sufficient, when all put together, to lead to a specific conclusion. 1 + 1 = 2. That's an argument. People could disagree with it, but on a very fundamental base, 1 + 1 = 2 illustrates what we're going to be doing here when we take a look at the Bible. You see, I think it's very important in critical times like this. I could hear you guys in there. I know it's important. This is why we're doing this in critical times like this, to provide information that's trustworthy. Internecine problems, tremendous problems within the country, tremendous problems within families. As the bills get due tomorrow, today's the 30th, 2 days. Today's the 30th of March, 2020. On April 1st, of all things, April Fool's Day, when the bills are due and you got to make that phone call to your landlord to your car dealer, to everywhere, your credit card people. I don't have the money. I can't. And then the fights start at home, arguing. That's the biggest thing married people fight about. And then the poor kids are there now. This could be a mess. One of the reasons we started this Bible and culture and God study is to help you weave through that with fundamental principles that you can hold on to. But when you raise the question of religion, there's people out there, probably atheists or Hindus or Sikhs or Baha'i or Bhagavad Gita or whatever. You go, well, what Bible are you going to use, Tom? There's a whole bunch of Bibles out there, which is very true, by the way. There's about 3,000 religions in the world, and all of them sort of have their own book. And there's a theory out there that, all roads lead to God. No matter how you go, it's like a mountain. You just move up, somewhere on this side, somewhere on that side. Well, again, we're going to be fact-based here. And if two religions have contradictory propositions about big questions, then it's extremely difficult logically to conclude that both of them are true. I'll lay that out. It may be a little tough right now, but I'll lay all that stuff out. And I'm going to argue for the use of, in our study, the use of the Hebrew Scriptures, the Old Testament from a Christian point of view. Jewish people don't view it as an Old Testament. They view it as one of their testaments. The Old Testament and the New Testament. Those two things together, Orthodox Christianity, and I'm an evangelical Christian, those two books together, the Hebrew Scriptures and the New Testament, comprise what Orthodox Christians call the Bible. That's the Bible we're going to be using here over against any other religious book like the Quran. And I'll lay out factual reasons why that book is superior to these other books, not to win an argument, because as an apologist, I've been in all these debates all my life, and it's not hard to win debates on these things. But for the sake of a bunch of Americans right now that are looking for something of substance, something looking for the truth to hold on to, I'm going to argue and present that the principles we go through in the Bible, the Old Testament and New Testament, are worthy of your faith, of your trust, and worthy for you to claim as principles spoken to man from God. That's big stuff, but it's important stuff, and it's critically important stuff in the midst of this crisis. Today is going to be more an introduction than anything, and I want to lay out right now some of these the perspective of these religions. When you deal with apologetics like I do, the questions that people ask, and they ask this, some people consciously ask the questions I'm going to present right now on a regular basis. They're very concerned about the answers to these questions. Others find these questions annoying, aggravating, agitating, so they suppress them to the inner recesses of their mind. But these are nagging questions that will not stay at rest. These are questions that demand an answer. To the degree you think you could suppress these questions that I'm going to tell you about, it's to that degree that you misunderstand the importance of these questions. For instance, one of them is, where did I come from? If you're a sentient being, you have a mind, there's not a physiological problem, you don't have dementia or some sort of organic brain problem, and you have a simple education. You don't have to be highly educated. There's arguments you don't have to be educated at all. All you got to do is look out into the world and see a tree, see a bird, see the sunrise. This is sufficient information for a human being to ask the question, where did I come from? Because you can look at a tree and you go, that came from someplace. You look at the bird flying, that came from someplace. So it's just a quid pro quo for saying, where did I come from? Well, that question leads to a follow-up question. All right, why am I here? If I came from somewhere and I know I'm here because I'm here, why am I here? Why am I here? I can't think, ladies and gentlemen, of a better time. I had Netflix and kids and board games and everything and walking and meeting your neighbors, good stuff. But this quarantine, now it's the whole month of April, 30 days. I can't think of a better time, and this could be a personal challenge to each one of you, to seriously consider the questions I'm laying out right now. Where did I come from? Why am I here? The follow-up to that is, where am I going? The death rate, as horrible as dying is, and we're watching it right now, unfold before our very eyes in major cities. The death rate, the last time I looked, was 100%. Everybody born dies. It's inevitable. You will die. Gonna happen. We all push that off. We all don't like that. It's a very, very, very difficult subject to confront head on. Rightfully so, because of the unknown of what takes place, which raises that question, where am I going? Well, a follow-up question to that is, all right, I'm here. I don't know where I came from. I'm here. I don't know where I'm going. What's right and what's wrong? These are the large questions that every human being at some point in their life has to face and ought to face. Bravely, not being afraid of the answer, but respecting the answer. And what a better time than right now. And I'm going to walk you through these days and weeks of this crisis to answer every single one of these from the Judeo-Christian perspective, which I argue makes more sense than the answers from any other religious perspective. Now, why do I say that? Because we're going to use the Jewish Christian scriptures to look for answers to these questions and to look for comfort in these difficult times. You see the logical context I'm building for this particular study? Of course you do. All right, now, I want to just read off some of the numbers on world religions. Right now, Christianity is the largest number of adherents, followers in the world, 2.2 billion followers, and they follow the Christians, the two scriptures I just said, the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament. Islam, number 2, has 1.6 billion followers. They follow the Quran. Hindus have, Indians for the most part, Hindus have 1 billion followers. They follow the Vedas, they're called. The Buddhists have about 400 million followers, and they have a whole variety of books, the Tripitaka and a series of different books. The Sikhs, 23 million followers. They follow Granth Sahib. Jews, 14 million followers. They follow the Hebrew scriptures. And Baha'i, 7 million followers. They follow the Katib Akkad. The Jainists, 4.2 million. They follow the Sutras. The Shintos, 4 million. And the Zoroastrians, about 3 million. Right there we have about 2/3 of the world's population that comprise the followers of about 20, 30 different books. And if you dig down, like I have spent a lifetime doing, looking at the particulars of all those religions, you'll see that there's a lot of commonality. Do good to fellow man, stay out of trouble. Look at the Buddha. The Buddha, there's no God in Buddhism. There's no God. The Buddha was an enlightened. Buddha means enlightenment. It was an enlightened man. And the followers of the Buddha have a wheel, 8 different principles they practice in life to get to an enlightened state. And they believe that there's a progression of lives. You die, you come back, you die, you come back, you're reincarnated. And you eventually reach the Buddha status. The Dalai Lama right now is at that status. You reach this status of being an enlightened individual, and that's nirvana. That's where you need to go in the world. Well, Christianity says, sorry, no reincarnation. So Buddhism and Christianity both can't be true. One's wrong or one is right. This is some of the stuff I'll be laying the groundwork for so that you can have faith in this book when I open it up and start dealing with some of the problems we face. That's where we're going to be going. Any questions at this point? I believe we have an interactive. I will take your questions, and I think, Mary, you're handling all that, right?
I am, Tom. Really no questions
Okay.
at this point, just commentary. Really, thank you for doing this in these troubled times. Another comment was a brother died, not from the virus, but they couldn't hold a funeral, and so they feel very much that they let their brother down and couldn't be the light that he needed at this time. And I think about it in terms of funerals and weddings, and none of that can be held any longer.
It is absolutely horrendous what's going on, particularly in Italy, where thousands, hundreds are dying every day, sometimes 1,000 people, and they're being put in coffins, and family members can't go near them. And I'm from an Italian background, for not being able to be with your loved one at death, at a funeral, at a wake, all of that. You talk about a cultural crisis. I mean, in Italy, and even in countries that are enemies of ours, Iran, notwithstanding the ideology of the Ayatollahs, which we repudiate, these are still human beings, and the mothers and fathers love their children, and the aunts and uncles love each other. And this enemy knows no ideology, no political reference. It's just devastating. And again, we have a pandemic, pan meaning all, demic, disease. We have a disease all over the globe. And what a beautiful time for us to retreat. For those of you who haven't been in the Bible on a regular basis, you can retreat now, go back to it. For those of you who have been, to continue to charge forward. Look, I'm speaking to very serious Christians right now. You have a high calling, an extremely high calling in the days ahead, because typically, if you have the Spirit of God in you, you desire to serve God and your fellow man and do what's right and go out and help. But there are physical obstructions and limitations to that. You cannot go into a nursing home now and sing songs like Dick and his wife have done many, many times. You can't do that now. You can't serve in that way. You can't even go into a home to help someone who may be sick, who you normally would go into a home and do that. So there's challenges for very serious Christians. But you know what? In times of difficulty, historically, we've seen this through, if you know anything about Jewish history, and seeing the Jews, the Israelis, the Hebrews being brought through 4,000 years of recorded history, and seeing the trials and tribulations that they've gone through, and the supernatural capability God has given them in the most difficult of circumstances. That's the same God that we serve today. It's the same God that every single Christian, every single person of faith, true faith, needs to draw from and figure out how to help others at this point. And immediately, that concerns your family. A couple of biblical suggestions. Usually, one or two of the parents are out working and the kids are in school. So you don't see each other 24 hours a day. And when you do, it's happy time. Well, right now, 24 hours a day in a little place, seeing each other, and then seeing your bank account go down, and then finding out a friend is sick, and finding out you can't go outside. The stress and the problems are going to, and we've had experts on our radio show, which starts in a few minutes. We're going to end this in a couple of minutes here. We have experts on our radio show, which will be live streamed now, who are telling us the rate of alcoholism, drug abuse, suicide is going to increase as the difficulties in this crisis increase and families are unable to resolve them properly. Let me suggest for everyone out there to take time each day, 5 minutes, either open the Bible or sit down as a family to have a family meeting and to discuss, look, we got to get through this. You know, what's working, what isn't. Let's set some rules. We don't fight with each other. We don't yell at each other. You know, you gotta, it's a new world. It's a tribal world in a very real sense. We're used to it here in Florida when hurricanes happen. we become very tribal. We protect our family, then our neighborhoods. Very, very similar. But do this from a distinctively Judeo-Christian worldview where you're allowing the Ten Commandments and other biblical principles that I'll get into in days ahead to guide the behavior, the character, the direction of your family. And guess what? Guess what comes out on the other end of this crisis? When you live like that, when you validate your faith, when you stand on your faith, when you trust God in a way like you never have before, only good. You become a stronger individual, person with more faith, and a person better equipped to lead and help others, which is our whole purpose in life, on the other end of this. So as much as it's a crisis of biblical proportions, let this also be an opportunity of biblical proportions to change each and every one of your lives for the better. That's general objective as to where we're going. Tomorrow and the other days, I'll start laying out ways in which we can do this, and I'm wide open to you, if you're on the Zoom platform, to signing up and writing questions. Dick, can you explain to the folks, because we got about a minute left, I guess, how they can get involved to actually participate?
Right. For those of you that are new, there's a button on your bottom of your screen. It's a Q&A button. When we join together tomorrow morning, you'll hit the Q&A button, and we'll see questions. We'll ask Tom of that. We are going to segue into a new segment in just a bit, so the Q&A function will continue. Stay online if you're on the webinar platform, but the Q&A button is where you communicate with us, and we get questions to Tom.
All right, so what we're doing...
At 11:03:08 we'll be live on the radio.
11:03, so 4 minutes from now. We do a regular show, folks. We have a live commercial radio show that's broadcast from Miami to Palm Beach every day. We do that from this studio, but now we're starting to live stream that show, and we stuck this 20-minute, half-hour Bible study on the front of that. Pretty cool stuff. Tell your friends, share this information, and we welcome you each and every day. And look, we're here to help, and we got quite a few resources to be able to do that. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow on the Bible study end. Whoever's coming over to the radio show, hang in there, and you'll start hearing the radio.
We'll all say bye.
And we'll all say bye. Goodbye. Oh, there we are. There's all of us. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.